strange. Clay will be wearing a Dallas jersey next time we see him. After nearly 1,000 games with the Warriors, this trio, Draymond, Steph, and Clay, conclude their run. 6 finals appearances, 4 titles, 720 games together, and 6 most wins by a trio all time. A 718 winning percentage. Are you viewing this as the official end of the Warriors?
It's certainly the end of an era. I mean, because their championships, even with Kevin Durant there, because he was there obviously for just the 2, it's about Steph, Clay, and Draymond. Steph and Clay, best backcourt ever. Mark Jackson said it, best shooting backcourt ever early in their career, and they became the best backcourt ever. So in that regard, it's the end of an era. Look, I think the Warriors, they still are going to try to make some moves. The Lowry Markkanen is out there from Utah. I love that.
I love that too. I would love it. I don't see how they can get it, but go ahead.
It's going to be different. You're right.
Yeah.
He's a perfect fit if they can get him.
Yes.
And even if they get him, I think, I think I have. I don't know if I have a graphic on tiers later, but not for this one. But I think that they're.
You won't tease the top of the show. There's a graphic coming up.
I think that they're basically where they were last year. They're fighting to just get in the postseason. That includes the play-in, not just the real playoffs, but the play-in. 10th, 11th.
Yeah, there's a lot of. And by the way, I saw the Markkanen thing as well, but I also saw this weekend that they could have gotten Levine. And they said no to it because, to me,
just for Chris Paul or Wiggins.
You're right. And then a little salary filler. So that, to me, indicates that Joe Lacob was telling the truth. That their number one goal is to not get under the apron, but to get under the tax. And that this is over. Now, I don't view this as I view this as the end of the end. We know what the beginning of the end was. The beginning of the end was this moment right here, before they played a single game in their title defense. This, as history will tell it, was the beginning of the end of the Warriors. We just didn't know it yet, but it was. And nothing was right ever since then. That year, they, tried to deal with it, and then they go out kind of quietly in round 2 to LeBron and the Lakers. Then next year, we don't have to keep playing this. The next year, they deal with more Draymond-related nonsense, and now they're broken up. One of my biggest takeaways of this deal was, wait, what were the Warriors willing to offer Clay? Like, Josh or Dust, can someone remind me in my ear, what did Malik Monk get?
Well, I thought it was 2 years, $48 million.
But did Malik Monk, I'm off the top of my head, I thought he got 4 for 78, but maybe I'm wrong on, it is 4 for 78. Yeah. Okay. So that is $19.5 million a year. 3 for 50 from Dallas, I understand state taxes, is $16.7 a year. The Warriors weren't willing to give Klay Thompson Malik Monk money? Like, I understand, like, not giving him a max. But there was no, like, all right, man, like, you are the second or third most important player in the history of the franchise. Steph is still here. We paid Draymond, who's been out of his mind. And so that, to me, signaled this was not purely we can't afford you. It was we are turning the page. We as a franchise are turning the page, and we can't turn it fully with Steph, Clay, and Draymond all here. So we're not going to match in a world where Hartenstein's worth 87. And listen, I understand younger player, different position. It's not apples to apples, but there seemingly was no loyalty bonus for Clay, which maybe is good business, but it signaled to me the Warriors were done. Like, the Warriors were turning the page.
I'll ask you a question, Brew. So we just spent the last 5 minutes like, all right, Pelinka couldn't land the plane. LeBron made the call, couldn't land the plane. Are you surprised? I'll ask you a two-parter, Brew. Pick your question. Are you surprised that Steph didn't throw his body in front of this? And do you think that this will affect, this trio has been together so long, had their highest highs. Do you think removing one part of the trio affects the other two guys negatively?
That's a great question. Questions.
Plural.
I'm not going to blame Steph for not jumping into and saying, hey, you got to keep Clay, because it's not like keeping Clay is going to make them a championship contender. All right? And I'm not saying Steph is fine with him leaving. I'm sure he would want him there, but Steph probably also wants to do whatever we can to get back to a championship level. And I think the best thing for him to do probably is to just stay away from it, because it would just be emotional. It'd just be sentimental. If they re-sign Clay, would we be saying they're any better than they are today? I mean, he's better than nothing, which is what they have now. But I'm just saying. So the second part, Draymond, and I don't know what his relationship with Clay was, but when he kind of laughed it off on the podcast, remember when Clay stopped following him on social media and all that stuff, that shows that I think Draymond seems like he'll be fine moving on. I do think Steph will be bothered.
As long as Draymond's got Jackson for the podcast, he's not. He's got his team in place.
No, look, I think that also Clay may have taken less money elsewhere is a little different than taking less money from where you've been and you won championships.
So that part I totally agree with. That there is. If a place I'll just use Fox as an example, just because there's the only TV job I've ever had. I've worked here my whole career. If all of a sudden I felt like they were, basically trying to move on from me because they offered me, X dollars, a tenth of what I was making before, I might take that exact same deal with someone else that wouldn't feel disrespectful because it's like, no, I have sweat equity, and in Clay's case, championship equity built up with you. So I agree with that.
And the role, they were asking him maybe to come off the bench.
So that part, and I also think there was an emotion of, man, I am not going to be able to quit thinking about the player I was before the injuries as long as I'm still wearing this uniform.
I buy that.
Like that I do. I think that is a legitimate human thing. Like for me to be able to fully accept that I'm in a different place, I need to literally be in a different place.
Yep.
Like that would make sense. For the Warriors, their miss was those draft picks. You had an opportunity in the midst of championship contention to draft number 2 overall, number 7, and number 14. And the only one of those is a total zero in Wiseman. Yeah. Moody, you're still yet to get anything from. He's so young, you don't want to give up on him. And Kuminga's shown flashes, but it's less about those players not turning into stars and more about their refusal to package those players for known quantities. Oh. And then you add to that that we now got the final results on the Jordan Poole trade. Nothing. You traded him for Chris Paul, essentially, and you just bought Chris Paul out. So like that, you had this late first, was he late first or early second round pick? I don't remember in Poole, that overachieved. You had the second pick. You had 2 other lottery picks. And what you have to show for it is
I think obviously the Jordan Poole thing is terrible. You get nothing for him. But look, Trace Jackson Davis, you got Kuminga, Podziemski. Like they do have some young talent. I'm not saying it's not championship level talent, but if they can get a Markkanen. Well, and I don't want to make him seem like he's the second.
That was my number one Lakers target. I think he's excellent, but I just don't see how they're going to be able to square. It seems like.
The Levine thing is bizarre.
It's not bizarre if they're just trying to cut money. If they think we need to get under the tax to reset all the calendars,
I think it's get under the tax unless we can build like a team we know is right there with the top contenders in the league.
Yeah, fair enough.
Give me quickly out the door, bro. Warriors are in what place at the end of the year?
Oh, I've got it.
10th.
Yeah, I had 11. Okay. I've got 10. I've got 7 teams definitively ahead of them. And
was there a trailer
for started it?
Reality High?
Should have never started. Good movie. Hashtag Reality High.
Is hashtag part of it, or you
it is. Hashtag Reality High. Go check it out. I'm one of the stars. Great movie.
We're starting with Clay's new home. Clay to Dallas on a 3-year, $50 million deal, according to Woj. According to Woj, he had offers for 4 years, but he wanted to sign with the Mavs. Partly because of state taxes, partly because he wants to win another championship. Brew, your reaction?
I love it. It looked like it was coming down to the Lakers or Mavericks. And look, I said Friday, Lakers go get Clay. I thought it would have been a great move for them.
You did.
But for Clay, I like this better. Dallas is closer. I'm sure he wants some retribution with the Warriors, right? And what better way to do it than to win ring number 5 somewhere else? And so I think Dallas has a much better chance than the Lakers are doing it. He would have been a nice little third guy with AD and LeBron, but they're ready. And I like what Dallas has done this offseason, getting Quentin Grimes. That's more three-point shooting.
Yep.
Obviously, Clay gives them three-point shooting. With Kyrie and Luka, now I'm wondering if they'll play a little differently next year. But with Kyrie and Luka, 2 ball-dominant guys, you need a guy that can score in bunches without having the ball a lot. Obviously, that's Klay Thompson.